Hi, welcome to Rock and Metal Invasion. My name is Steve. Coming up on the show today, I'm doing Doro and Warlock Part 2. Part 1, I looked at the first two Warlock albums, and today I'm going to look at the final two Warlock albums. And then in Part 3, I'll start looking at the Doro solo albums. Of course, Doro Pesh is the lead vocalist for Warlock, and album number 3 was an album called True as Steel. Again, they're on the Vertigo label, so major label again. And they've got the same producer, but at this time they've also got Michael Wagner coming in to help out with the mixing of the album. And you could definitely tell this maybe there's a little bit more record company influence or ideas coming through from the record company. Maybe for this album, it's more commercial, a little bit more polished. A little bit more melodic, but still got that signature Warlock sound. There's one lineup change from the previous album. So Peter Graf has left the band and Nico has come in on guitar. Peter Graf then goes on to play in the band Rage. I think he's on a couple of their albums. All right, so let's do it track by track, just briefly, go through each song on the album. Starts off with Mr. Gold. Now, Warlock have this habit of, I've certainly noticed it on their previous two albums, they kick off with a real fast-paced rocker. They do the same here with Mr. Gold. Really, again, it moves at a good pace, but it's just not memorable for me. So this is a bit of a disappointing opener. It's just a very basic song. It doesn't really have anything memorable about it. So not a great start for me, but the follow-up song after that, track 2, Fight for Rock, which has a music video, was the first single for the album, is one of Warlock's best songs. Yes, it is commercial and it's quite melodic. It's got this fantastic riff that kicks it off though. And you know, it's this song's actually about fighting for rock, which might sound a bit cheesy, but I quite like it. Check out the music video. Again, also perhaps it's a little bit 80s, definitely, but I think it's a good music video. I enjoy watching it, and like I say, killer. Love that song. Great song, one of Warlock's best, and yeah, great choice I think for first single. But again, yes, you might hear this and think, oh wow, Warlock's starting to get a little bit mainstream, less, more that sort of getting a little bit like, I mean, hair metal's not really. I mean, this came out in 1985, 86. This came out in 86. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet's just about to explode and get really big. But, so yeah, hair metal's starting to come up, but I wouldn't necessarily call this album a hair metal album, but it is getting a little bit more melodic, a little bit more commercial. But yeah, I really love that song. Track number 3, again, yeah, very melodic and commercial. It's called Love in the Danger Zone. At first you actually think, oh, it's going to be a ballad, but then this really awesome riff comes in, and then again it quietens down again for the first verse. The chorus picks up again, but yeah, this is another one of my favorites. I could understand this also being a single, and I think it was released as a single, but this would have been, I think, a really good follow-up single after Fight for Rock, because it still is a heavy-ish song, but it's also got ballad-type elements to it as well. So really good song. Again, yeah, quite commercial. Yeah, could imagine this being a hit. Now, next song after that, Speed of Sound. I would have really liked the album to start with this. This game would fit their template of kicking off with a really fast-paced rocker. So yes, it is that, but it's a much better song than Mr. Gold. So yeah, I don't love the song, but it's a good one, and that's this kind of song I think would have been perfect to have kicked off the album. After Speed of Sound, we've got Midnight in China, and it's a little bit unmemorable for me, a little bit like Mr. Gold. I've heard this album a lot, but I had to play this song again recently just so I could remember what it sounded like. Yeah, just very much album filler for me. Yeah, so first side is done, and two great songs, two of my favorite Warlock songs, but also has two of my least favorite as well, with Midnight in China and Mr. Gold. So, bit hit and miss so far. So, second side, it kicks off with Vorwitz, All Right. Now, again, kicking off the side, the first song on the record on this side is another fast-paced song, good riff, classic Warlock sound. It's really classic 80s metal sound. Now, Vorwitz, I had to look it up because I wasn't sure what that actually meant, but it actually means moving forward. I think it's a German word, or going or onwards, and which actually fits the lyrics of the song. So, good song, and like I say, good way to kick off side two. True as Steel. This is the title track, and now this might be my favorite song from the album. Starts off with some like gang vocals before this really amazing riff comes in, really killer riff. I just love everything about the song. I love the lyrics even. It's lyrics are "Stay hard, true as steel. We're going down in history." For some people that might sound a little silly, but I like it. I found it actually kind of inspirational back in the day. And just this whole song was, I think, quite inspirational for me when I heard it back in the 80s. Just love rocking out to this one. Really great song. Best song for me probably on the album. And that's the title track, True as Steel. Now, after that, we've got Lady in a Rock and Roll Hell. Now, I was talking about this album not really being hair metal, but it's starting to get a little bit, I guess, more commercial. This is probably the most hair metal I probably can remember Warlock sounding. It definitely does sound a little bit like, there could be a LA band putting out an album in the mid 80s. It's not really a typical Warlock song, but actually, I do like it. It's a good song, quite catchy. But yeah, it is what it is. It's Lady in Rock and Roll Hell. That is the third track on side two, and then after that, they've got a ballad. Now, this is probably the first real true ballad on the album. Love in the Danger Zone had some ballad elements to it, but this is definitely a total ballad. And actually, it's not bad. And again, like a number of songs on this album, I could have imagined this actually being a hit. It's catchy, it's got a hook. Doro, every song she sounds great, of course, but this song in particular, she sounds really good. I don't think it was released as a single. I think it might have been a promotional single released, or it might have been released as a promotional type thing. Actually, looking on Discogs, I think it was this song, and it had Bon Jovi on the other side, Living on a Prayer. But, that was just a promo thing. I don't think there's a music video or anything. I think they really could have had a chance with that song, considering the number of songs that were, those heavier bands who were getting hits with the ballad or the power ballad or the slow song. They actually had some. They could have had some potential, but there we go. And then after that, we've got a song called Igloo on the Moon. It's okay. It's nothing great. Again, another one of those ones I couldn't really remember. Had to play it, and then once I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, I think after Love Song, this album kind of fades off a little bit for me. So not a memorable song, and then it also finishes with an instrumental, which is nothing particularly memorable either. So great. The first four songs though on side two are really good. I probably would prefer side two to side one for this album because, like I say, the first four songs on this side are really strong. True as Steel in particular, great song, really good song. And with side one also having a couple of great songs, this is a good album for me because of the three fantastic songs. So True as Steel, Fight for Rock, and Love in the Danger Zone. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10, which is the highest I've given a Warlock album so far. I think Hellbound I gave it 7 out of 10. So yeah, 8 out of 10 for this one. And then there's other songs as well that I think are good songs. There's a couple, maybe 2 or 3, I'm not that fussed about, but solid album. yeah, and like I say, the good I really enjoy. So I'm gonna give it 8 out of 10. And interesting enough, so True Steel came out in 1986, and it didn't actually take them very long to release their fourth album. So this is Triumph and Agony, came out in 1988. So just a year after. This sorry, yeah, 19. Sorry, check on that actually. Might be 1987 even, because I think, yeah, sorry, this is 1987 because this came out in 86. So yeah, I knew there wasn't very much time in between, out these albums coming out, which is interesting because there's quite a few changes here. So basically, yeah, there's Peter and Frank from the band are gone, and they've got like an American band now coming in to the lineup. So Tommy Bolin and Tommy Henriksen are coming in to the band for this album. Also production, Joey Ballin is coming in to do the production on this album and also helping with the songwriting. Yeah, so also as well, I think this is the time that Doro relocates to New York. I think because I'm pretty sure she lives in New York these days, and maybe she also lives in Germany. I'm not sure. Maybe she, lives both countries or alternates. But definitely, I know she did move to New York at some point. So I think it might be around this time that she did relocate to New York. So she did the songwriting with Joey Ballin. And yeah, she's got different musicians. She's also actually got Cozy Powell does some drumming on this album, I think on Touch of Evil, on the song Touch of Evil. So yeah, but yeah, also still on Vertigo. Awesome cover art. I love the cover art for this. Fantastic. Great cover art. This is gatefold as well. So inside is also pretty cool. Yeah, really great stuff. But anyway, let's get into the songs. So the first song, I probably don't need to talk about this one too much because I'm sure I've talked about it before. One of my all-time favorite hard rock metal songs, All We Are. Love the music video. Absolutely, I've talked about my sort of backstory on Warlock and Doro, and when that was my first time hearing or seeing Warlock, and what an amazing song. So yeah, so this album is the first album I ever heard from Warlock. First song I ever heard was All We Are, and it's probably the best Warlock song. Like, I really like True Steel, but All We Are I think is probably my favorite because I just loved that song right from the moment I heard it and still love playing it. It's just a beast of a song. Great, it has the chorus, the gang vocals kicking it off, and then the big riff, and yeah, just fantastic. So yeah, totally fantastic choice as the first single for the album. Interestingly enough, I find, and I'm going to go over track by track, but I do find they just never get anything close to that on the rest of the album, which is a little bit disappointing. Track 2, 3-minute warning. I actually wonder if maybe that should have opened the album. I think it would have been a great way to kickstart the album. I understand they're probably really excited about All We Are because that's such a great song, but maybe 3-minute warning again would fit the sort of template that they've had in the past of kicking off their album with a real fast-paced rocker. But at track 2, it is a good, strong, fast-paced, kick-ass song. I can totally, I enjoy it. I love the fact it's got a 3-minute warning because that's what it's about 3 minutes long, and it may actually be a little bit less than 3 minutes. I think I read somewhere someone saying, well, I don't know why they're calling it a 3-minute warning because it's like 2 minutes 55 or something. But either way, yeah, it's a cool song. I just think maybe it should have opened up the album, then All We Are maybe being track 2, but there we go. After that, it's I Rule the Ruins. Some really good guitar work on this song. I really like the chorus, although, and this is kind of something I might mention with some of the other songs on this album, it does get a little bit repetitive. So that yeah, I like how she sings, I Rule the Ruins, and then she sort of says that in the background as well. But she does say I Rule the Ruins a lot, and it does get a little bit repetitive. Kiss of Death is next, and that sort of starts off quite softly, but then it really was, it's got this sort of howling in the background, and then it really picks up the pace a little bit. Yeah, and Doro sounds great. I mean, vocals on this whole album just fantastic. She always sounds good, of course, but I think in particular the production is really good, and her vocals sound really good on this album. So yeah, Kiss of Death, and then finally finishing off the album, we've got Make Time for Love, which, like it sort of sounds like it is a ballad. So actually a little bit like Love Song from the previous album, and yeah, I could imagine this being a hit again. This wasn't released as a single, but yeah, I don't mind it. I quite enjoy it. I'm not a massive fan of ballads in general, and Warlock have some pretty reasonable ballads, but they're not my sort of go-to songs usually. But this is okay, and I didn't mind it finishing off side one. Side two. Now this is interesting because this was released as a promotional single. It's an interesting choice, and I know it's a popular song. It's a good song. Again, the chorus can get a little bit repetitive. East meets West is the song, and it is repeated quite a bit. But yeah, not a bad way to kick off the second side. Touch of Evil after that, I've got to be honest with you, and I haven't been too critical of Warlock songs, but this one's really completely forgettable for me. Yeah, just quite boring for me, and a little bit plodding. Doesn't really go anywhere. And when I sort of know the great songs that they can do, and then I hear this, it's a bit disappointing. So yeah, not into that song at all. Metal Tango, this is a little bit better, but still only average for me. It's nice to hear. You can hear a little bit of keyboard on the song, which is, I think, adding a little bit of variety, which I think this album needs, because I think a number of the songs do sound quite similar. Once you go past All We Are, which is kind of an island all by itself for me, the rest of the songs do sound a little bit similar. So kind of nice to hear a bit of keyboard in there, but still just an okay song. Cold War, unfortunately, is another one of those ones. It's very unmemorable. Had to play it to remember what it sounded like, and I'm afraid it's going to join Touch of Evil as one of those songs. It just does nothing for me. So yeah, Cold World, not on my playlist when it comes to Warlock, I'm afraid. And then finally for Emma, which is a ballad. I actually don't mind this song. This was released as a single as well, and again, I can imagine they were thinking this had some hit potential. It's quite I don't mind it. It's quite good, but it actually sounds like a completely different band, really. I mean, it's not heavy, of course. It's very much a ballad. Parts of it are sung in German, which is good, which is actually okay. It makes it sound. It's an interesting idea, definitely. Not the whole thing sung in German, but it's a nice song. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a Warlock song. But anyway, that ends the album. That and side two. Now this is probably Warlock's most popular album, certainly the most successful. I think it got to number 3 on the German charts, 80 on the Billboard charts. It went gold in Germany, so was pretty much fairly successful. And even to this day, I think when people talk about Warlock, this is probably a lot of people's go-to album. They did release, I don't have it, but they released a live recording of this entire album. So they did one of those concerts where they played the album in full and then they recorded it. So yeah, it's obviously a very popular album. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought I might have given this a higher score. I thought this might have ended up being my favorite album. But I'm actually only going to give it 7 out of 10, which is the same I gave Hellbound. And yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for All We Are, it actually may only get a 5 or a 6 out of 10. But I love that song so much. It's on the album, so got to give points for that. So yeah, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10, which means it's not my favorite Warlock album. It's going to go to True as Steel, which I gave 8 out of 10 to. Which got 8 out of 10. But it is a good album still, especially the first side. Some good songs on there, and of course All We Are. such a great song that kicks off side one. But yeah, and this is actually the final Warlock album, because the next album, although there's some connections to Warlock, and I'll maybe talk more about that when I do part 3, because some copies of the album do have Doro plus Warlock with there's a Warlock sticker on it. So originally I think there was a plan for it to continue as Warlock, but there was some issues with naming rights, so it ended up becoming Doro, which is probably not a bad thing in the end. But because really Warlock, I think by this point, because it's she's hooked up with these American musicians and producers, and it's pretty much a Doro band at this point. But so yeah, I'll talk more about that in part 3. But so there we go. There's my take on the last 2 Warlock albums. Hope you've enjoyed hearing about this. If you haven't checked Warlock albums out, this one or their first 2 albums, go check them out. Good quality stuff, good 80s metal. I've enjoyed listening to them, revisiting them, and talking about them. Tell me what you think about these albums. I have a feeling my 7 out of 10 could be a bit controversial, and some of my opinions on some of the songs as well, because I know some people really do love Triumph and Agony. Let me know what you think about the albums I've talked about today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you can be made aware of any other episodes and content like this that I'm putting out. And I'll catch you real soon. Okay, see ya.